4 rounds on a MotoGP's Asia Pacific Tour come from Australia, and the adrenaline rush only the Phillip Island track can provide. Flanked by a postcard coast and with Sergio from Australia's best serve. Before inspiring Phillip Island first over nearly 70 years ago. Here's some of MotoGP's most memorable moments. Warm-up starts race day 19. Let's live. It's time for MotoGP. Good morning and welcome to our 19th race day of our record-breaking 2025 MotoGP World Championship. Join us live, we start our Sunday coverage of the Australian Grand Prix and 19 of the campaign. Join us for a rather delayed start, of course, earlier on this weekend with the forecast predicting strong gusting winds to dominate proceedings early on Sunday morning. All of the race schedule bumped back by 1 hour, which means the 21-lap Moto3 race that's going to be underway at noon local time here. Down under, about 100 kilometres south of the beautiful city of Melbourne. It is pretty overcast, you have to say, at the moment. And it is still some very powerful gusts as we're just a couple of minutes away from the 10-minute MotoGP warm-up. Gusts of around 60 kilometres an hour, we are reliably informed, are currently buffeting Phillip Island from the nearby Bass Strait, which you can see there on the right-hand side of your picture. Glorious sunny skies yesterday for the third time in the last 4 sprints. It was Marco Bezzecchi who shone brightest in what was a really dramatic sprint Saturday. Bezzecchi eventually taking a dominant victory by over 3 seconds in a first Aprilia 1-2 in the sprint format. What was a real tough day for Ducati, with no Ducatis on a sprint for the first time in the sprint era. 58 sprints we've had, first time no Ducati featuring in the medal ceremony. Of course, a big caveat to point out in this afternoon's full 27-lap Australian Grand Prix. Marco Bezzecchi, after his collision with Marc Marquez on the first lap in Indonesia a couple of weeks ago, does have to serve a double long lap. Only Jack Miller, who put up a great fight yesterday for the sprint podium in history, has won a MotoGP race with 2 long laps. That was at Le Mans in 2021 in a flag-to-flag race, so it has never been done in a full dry Grand Prix. Can Marco Bezzecchi pull off a miracle here today in Phillip Island? Matt Burt Lewis to the beat in the commentary box with a very windswept Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Well, the home fans have had a treat so far this weekend, haven't they? Thriller Miller, fastest on Friday morning, his first front row start in 2 years in qualifying yesterday, and so close to 600ths of a second away from that sprint podium yesterday.
Overrode really the expectations yesterday in qualifying. He thought he'd done a very special lap and was still capped by Fabio Quartararo, which underlines just how strong the pole sitter was on his way to a 1:26.465. You can just see there in the sort of grass banks there just how hard everyone is working to deal with the elements on this Sunday morning in South Australia. Looking to leave the rest in his dust this afternoon is Fabio Quartararo. It's fair to say that his hopes of converting pole position into sprint victory were over very early in yesterday's 13-lap battle. A poor start and ultimately a poor front tyre choice cost the Frenchman.
Yeah, Quartararo went for the medium front tyre against the advice, it sounds like, from Michelin and his factory Yamaha crew. He was convinced the medium was the pick, having been so strong in qualifying on that front tyre choice. Alex Marquez, another rider, has said he misjudged the front tyre selection. He was also on the medium as Alex came home in 6th place. Fabio Di Gianantonio was our top Ducati finisher over the 13 laps yesterday in 5th place, cursing really a poor qualifying. 10th on the grid was Digia yesterday, fought his way through to 5th, clearly had podium pace, but gave himself far too much work to do from that 4th row.
Could be a bit of a voyage of discovery here to see just what the conditions are like. Of course, as Matt mentioned, the schedule has been altered to try and dodge the worst of the weather. This really, we think, might well be the worst of the weather as we go through this Sunday morning and into the afternoon. The wind certainly appears to be a pretty heavy tailwind down the main straight as the green flag is held in place there by our marshals, otherwise that may blow away. And you can expect plenty of trepidation and caution on these early laps of what is a very short 10-minute warm-up.
Well, yesterday, most riders still believing that Marco Bezzecchi is an overwhelming favourite to take the spoils here in this Australian Grand Prix, despite the incoming double long laps. Several riders saying that Bezzecchi can overcome what is likely to be lots of time, between 4 and 5 seconds to get himself back into victory contention. Raul Fernandez shining once again his best Grand Prix result in MotoGP, second on the Trackhouse of Prix, Prix at 1-3. What a Saturday they had here in Phillip Island. Well, trying to keep himself out of these powerful wind gusts is our Jack down in pit lane. Jack, it seems like it's pretty breezy down there right now.
Yeah, just speaking to a couple of teams, as you guys said right at the top of the broadcast, gusts of between 50 and 60 kilometres an hour. Thankfully, for the moment, it seems that the wind direction is a tailwind down the start and finish straight. We've seen multiple issues down the years when you start to get a crosswind. As soon as they get beyond this pit garage complex, that's when they can really have those gusts of winds push them offline, or even worse, onto the grass, like we saw from Miguel Oliveira in 2019. But turn 1 isn't a problem area. Turn 3 is where they're going to have to be careful. As they stick it in there, we anticipate that those gusts are going to be at their strongest, trying to push the front wheel from underneath them. So that's going to be the area that the guys will have to be careful in this 10-minute session.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Another key area, of course, a tailwind down the Gardner Straight, pushing you into the Doohan corner. That means it's going to be a headwind as you brake into turn 4, Miller corner, which means you're going to just have to be a little bit careful adjusting your braking markers. What is already a very tricky braking zone into that tight right-hander. Well, Paul on Pecco Bagnaia. I mean, look at that.
Unrideable.
Just so unstable. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like that. That was halfway down the Gardner Straight. Figures, look, as soon as he's upright and on the Gardner Straight, going through the gears. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. Bagnaia takes his left hand off the handlebar. There's the power back on. Let's have a look at this.
Yeah, had to get right out of it when it started to really shake. And that is the story of his entire weekend. If you want an idea of what Pecco Bagnaia has been complaining about throughout this Australian Grand Prix weekend, it is exactly that. But that is about as extreme as we have seen from Pecco Bagnaia. The bike was shaking, the bike was unstable throughout the sprint yesterday. He finished second last of those that reached the checkered flag. Only his teammate and Ducati test rider, Michele Pirro, was behind him.
Well, that's just unrideable. That is unrideable. It doesn't matter how talented you are, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can't ride a motorcycle that's trying to shake your teeth out. Look at the pogo stick, absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen anything quite like that. Poor old Pecco Bagnaia, what must be going through his mind right now? 32 seconds behind Bezzecchi at the checkered flag. He was at the end of that sprint yesterday. We thought of being last and 29 seconds behind Bez. The sprint in Mandaluki was woeful. It got even worse yesterday for Bagnaia. What a conundrum it is for Bagnaia and for Ducati to try and sort out this chronic stability issues which have been plaguing him for so much of the season. I mean, Aldeguer, of course, looking today for a bit of history. Can he become the first rookie to win back-to-back Grand Prix since Marc Marquez in 2013? Well, unfortunately, it was from the top step of the podium in Mandaluki's Grand Prix to the gravel trap at Turn 6 of Siberia in yesterday's sprint for Aldeguer. Never really got going at all in the sprint yesterday. He wasn't inside the points scoring place. He's a pretty heated battle with Bastianini. He did bite the dust at Turn 6.
Well, the top speed, which is at the top, well, basically at the end of the main straight before they start to screw off speed for turn 1. Yesterday in qualifying 2, Paul Espargaro 354 kilometers an hour. With that tailwind, they're already going 356 on board that KTM into turn 1. That was the long lap penalty area. Down in turn 4, which Marco Bezzecchi is going to come through twice. It's going to be in the first sort of 5-6 laps of the Grand Prix. It's 5 laps from the point you receive the instruction to serve the penalties, which won't be served until he comes past it on the first lap, so he can't come through there on lap 1. It's a 4 to 5 second real-time loss, but of course what you then have to factor in is where he filters in after his penalties. He's going to have to overtake riders and use up his tyre, so that might be the big issue rather than the actual time he loses going through the long lap loop.
Friday, Bezzecchi Fernandez 1-2. Saturday, Bezzecchi Fernandez 1-2. Guess what? Sunday has started with a Bezzecchi Fernandez Aprilia 1-2. They are clearly the two standout riders going into this afternoon's 27-lap Aussie Grand Prix. Let's go down to Jack for a Bezzecchi update.
Yeah, the team are already practicing and trying to get all of the communication sorted for on the pit board. They hung out last with long laps underneath. Communication is going to be key to making sure that exactly the right time. As you say, 5 laps to do it. I think it all depends on the side. If he can get the whole shot, then he's probably his best tactics are 3 qualifying laps, trying to build up as much of an advantage as possible and then take them on laps 4 and 5. But of course, the teams can't communicate with each other through radio, so the pit board will be crucial for that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jay. I mean, you don't want to come anywhere into the long lap penalty league, but Phillip, one of the best, I would imagine. It's quite short as
He got worse.
Bagnaia almost trips over the rear tyre of his spare bike there. Tripping over himself, tripping over his factory Ducati for so much as 2025. As I said earlier on, Bezzecchi through this short long lap is likely to lose 2 seconds, and when he came to the long lap recently, that was exactly what he did lose. So we're looking at anything between 4 and 5 seconds will be the time that he surrenders. I mean, he did drop yesterday after a mistake right here at turn 10, a second behind Ralph Fernandez. Eventually took the checkered flag 3.1 clear of the Spaniard. So there was a 4-second swing at some point in the sprint yesterday between the 2 factory Aprilias. And I didn't think any rider, when they were asked yesterday, can Bez win with the 2 long laps, say no, he can't. They all think it's a very, very distinct possibility.
He's certainly got the speed to do it. He did a 1:31.5 on his previous lap with the long lap. He's just on a 28.3 without the long lap penalty. So yeah, it's going to be somewhere in the region of 2 to 3 seconds as Alex Rins goes off into Doohan corner. Turn 1. It is a little bumpy too through the long lap penalty, which Bezzecchi's going to be careful. That's why he's practicing it so much, to understand the best way to tackle it. And unfortunately, against Marco Bezzecchi, it's a bit of a rope he'll be walking, of course, because he needs to try and lose as little time as possible through the long lap penalty. But of course, if he takes too many risks and overshoots it, he'll have to serve it again.
He's never had a Grand Prix play. I mean, how many times has he done this long lap this weekend? You can't say he's not well rehearsed in terms of going into the long lap on the outside of the Miller corner. Calculator to work out how many times Bez has been in the long lap loop. Zaldiger just sits up there on the 54 bike coming out of Siberia.
He was 2/10 down on his own best time through the first sector. He's down 2.9 seconds down through the second. So just again to give you an idea of how much time he's likely to lose. He is a full second clear of the rest of the moment in this warm-up session. The one lap he did that didn't involve a practice of the long lap penalty was a 1:28.3. Pedro Acosta on a 29.3 over a second line. That's why everyone is so convinced he can win anyway.
In terms of the spectacle as neutrals, it might have to be a bad thing if Bezzecchi has to come through the 2 long laps here today, because it could be a cruise for him and he not has to do those long laps. Once again, he's been told what the plan might be later on this afternoon. It'll add some jeopardy, isn't it, to the Grand Prix later on. Bez having to do the 2 long laps. Well, Fernandez was by far his closest challenger yesterday. First time we've seen Fernandez at the front of a sprint or Grand Prix MotoGP all season. Fabiano Sterlachini looks on. They would have talked about it behind the scenes. They'd have had a proper in-depth discussion about when will be the optimal moment to dive into that long lap. Bagnaia, good one look over his left shoulder as he exits turn 4. He's given a rather more stable and less wayward factory Ducati at the moment. Unfortunately, he's dead last once again in this 10-minute warm-up session. Moment than anything sub 1:41. Another massive mental blow, this, isn't it? That for the double world champion to take.
It's just in his mind when he climbs on the bike, even before he leaves pit lane. Of course, from the very weekend, the story of the weekend has been a tale of 2 different bikes for Pecco Bagnaia, which he and the team say are absolutely identical, but are behaving completely differently. Went out on Friday morning, pre-practice walk, was having those instability issues, so discarded that first bike, changed over to bike number 2. It was performing better, but still nowhere near as well as it was back in Bezzecchi. Just got an update on the 63.
Yeah, you saw him walk over and he'll trip over some of the just left in the way. His body language as he comes down pit lane yet again was that of a man that just thought The head was bowed low, and he just sort of very somberly trudged his way over to the bike. He now comes back into the box, and you do feel as if Bagnaia going out later today. He's done one flying lap on both of these machines. Clearly, neither of them are working now. It's a really tough situation.
Thanks, Jack. Bagnaia looks completely beaten into submission, doesn't he, right now by this factory Ducati. I mean, it's 3 weeks ago where he was so completely dominant over in Motegi, shocking Mandalika 2 weeks ago. This has got even worse. This is dismal in the extreme. I mean, I heard the word yesterday: embarrassing, humiliating, all words that really perfectly describe Bagnaia's woeful Australian Grand Prix so far this weekend. You can just see there as he was talking to his crew chief, Christian Gavarini, the body language, the facial expressions. He's getting to the end of his tether right now, isn't he? Inside that Borgo Panigale garage is Bagnaia.
Here's the pole sitter then, Fabio Quartararo. It's the front tyre choice this afternoon. It's going to be in no real doubt for Fabio. He's going to go across to the hard front tyre, having chosen the medium yesterday. Which rear tyre he has on, though, might be more of a question mark. Yes, the conundrum he's weighing up is whether it is worth going for the soft rear tyre and just accepting whatever pain he's going to suffer from late in the race, hoping that perhaps the drop is not going to be quite so severe as it was for Jorge Martin here back in 2023, because that might be his big opportunity to pull a result out of the bag on board that Yamaha. We're expecting the majority pick this afternoon to be the medium rear tyre, which has no real concerns of making the distance without any drop.
Boss Piero Calamasso told Jack yesterday maybe 2 or 3 riders would take a punt on the soft. You might have seen some of our social media coverage of the top 3 yesterday discussing rear tyre choices. Bezzecchi, Ralph Fernandez and Pedro Acosta all seemed absolutely adamant there was no way that they felt that they could make that soft rear tyre go the full 27 laps. Acosta said that his soft rear tyre yesterday at the end of the sprint had gone 2 or 3 laps before the checker flag. Fernandez said the last 4 laps when he had nothing at all. For Bezzecchi, who used his soft rear tyre too much, as once again, just to complete this morning warm-up session, that's the 3rd or 4th time, isn't it, in this 10-minute session that Bez have come through that long lap. Really is going to add another dimension, another dynamic through this afternoon's Grand Prix, isn't it? Can he be the first rider in a all-dry MotoGP race to combat 2 long laps and get himself back into victory contention?
You can see there then the laps where he's been through the long lap loop in the 31s and the 32s. Of course, the laps where he hasn't have been in the 28s. He is really having to push the margins, and there aren't really many margins to play with through that one lap long loop. It is pretty narrow. You feel it's imperative for Bezzecchi to lead at the end of this first lap. He'll want to stretch this pack out, pull out an advantage at the front of the field, and of course try and feed back in as close to the front of the race for his first long lap as possible. Of course, the better he is at that, the fewer riders he's going to have to overtake on his way back through. If he loses places on the first lap, that might well be the end of his victory hopes.
Jack Miller, another excellent session for the home crowd hero. He really has done the home crowd proud so far this weekend. 2019, a 3rd place in Miller's solitary MotoGP podium. Of course, he has tasted victory here all the way back in 2014 in Moto3. What a day actually lies in store for the Aussie fans. Joel Kelso spent ages on the front rows in Moto2.
He's shot his box here. He's just realised when he's got to a Aprilia. I was supposed to back further back there. He's had to walk his Yamaha back down the pits. So bit of an oversight there from the pole sitter, who missed his box entirely.
Sure, he fully likes to be riding a at the moment around Sunny Farm because he's had to walk in for the Aussie Miller's solitary MotoGP podium. Of course, he has tasted victory here all the way back in 2014 in Moto3. What a day actually lies in store for the Aussie fans. Joel Kelso spent ages
loop in the 31s and the 32s. Of course, the laps hasn't have been in the 28s. And he is really having to push the margins, and there aren't really many margins to play with through that one lap long loop. It is pretty narrow. You feel it's imperative for Bezzecchi to lead at the end of this first lap. He'll want to stretch this pack out, pull out an advantage at the front of the field, and of course try and is elsewhere from Bez, so not going to be seeking to set quite as fast a pace in the Grand Prix this afternoon because the race, the ride working bench. See.
Yesterday, Marco, there's a around day actually lies in store for the Aussie fans. Joel Kelso, Center Ages on the front rows in Moto2.
He's shot his box here. He's just realised when he's got to a Prix. I was supposed to back further back there. He's had to walk his Yamaha back down the pit. So bit of an oversight there from the pole sitter. He missed his box entirely.
Sure, he'd probably like to be riding a at the moment around Sunny Farm because it's definitely the package to be on, isn't it? Bezzecchi, once again, fastest on Friday afternoon. He was almost quickest in qualifying yesterday before Quattararo's late brilliance. And he was superb, wasn't he, in that 13-lap sprint yesterday, Marco Bezzecchi. Can he double up for Aprilia with a double long lap? That's going to be the big question going into this afternoon's 27-lap race, which will, just for reference, for those of you tuning in at home and here at the circuit, Gian Antonio, Alex Marquez, a couple of seconds, then back to another group involving Quattararo, Marini, and Hollis Agro, the fastest TV pundit in the world. Picking up another point in the sprint yesterday, ninth spot. Had a good warm session as well as Felicio, finishing in at 6th place on the Tech 3 KTM in for the absent Maverick Vinales.
He pointed out one of the other issues you're going to have later on if you do race the soft rear tyre, particularly with a hard front. The soft rear really is going to push the front thing. You could end up crashing it before you even get to those crucial final few laps of the race. Well, the elements are certainly going to provide a major challenge for the best riders in the world this afternoon. We hope, certainly that is the intention of the change in the schedule, that the worst of the weather is going to pass before we go racing at 3 p.m. local time this afternoon. Over 27 laps where Marco Bezzecchi looks to overcome a double long lap penalty, which he practiced plenty of times in the warm-up. In amongst that, he did still top it on the 28.3. Jack Miller second, from Pedro Acosta and Fabio Quattararo. Ralph Fernandez and Paulo Spargo next up. Ayagura's highs we've seen him this weekend in 7th. Alex Marquez, the 2 crashes in qualifying yesterday, came through the 6th in the sprint, 8th for him ahead of Marini, Gian Antonio, Oliveira, Bastianini, Zarco, and Brad Binder, who, like Pecco Bagnaia, takes a 3-place grid penalty later on today. Juan Mir 15th from Alex Rins, Fermin Aldeguer and Frankie Morbidelli. He's been around there all weekend down in P18. Sonkat Chandra 19th from Michele Piro, Lorenzo Savadori, and the miserable Pecco Bagnaia, whose weekend continues to plunge even further into the depths.
So far in his MotoGP career, double victory on the same weekend has eluded Marco Bezzecchi, and he completes the double win from a double long lap penalty. The factory Aprilia star still a favourite, despite the 2 long laps coming his way at a windy and wild Cliff Island. Have a great race day, folks, here under.
welcome to Australia. We are rolling right now with the 2025 Riders Parade. We are taking the trailer around. We're going to introduce the riders to what is a growing crowd at 27 laps here in this amazing 4.4 kilometre circuit, 2.7 miles. And the talk of the town is the wind. The conditions are very, very windy here, but we do have all 22 riders, including the 3 replacement riders into the injured boys here this weekend. Heading down this front straight where, with this big tailwind today, we'll be seeing speeds well over 350 kilometres per hour towards the corner, turn number 1. Amazing part of the racetrack down here. We'll walk around and speak to some of the riders and catch their thoughts. We'll start with some of the Honda boys over behind us. Right now is Joao Mir, who is taking a nice moment here with the fans. Just talking about the wind here this week, and what did you notice from the warm-up Ryan coming down towards turn 1 with this big tailwind?
The truth is that the warm-up has been good for everyone. The wind was massive out of turn 2 and then in another part of the track, but we're trying to enjoy also in this situation. We have an amazing track despite the weather, so we'll try to take a good time.
Just hear how much the riders love racing at Phillip Island. Is this true amongst the rider group?
This is the super extreme track, or you love it or you hate it. It's not midterm, no? So I love it. I like a lot to ride on this track. So hopefully we can do a good race and keep to the last three rounds.
Well, today, mate. Thank you. I'm here, a world champion in the MotoGP class and riding with the Honda team. Today we're going to have a chat with Alex Rins, a winner here of the Grand Prix. One of only 2 riders in the field today to have said they've won the Phillip Island Grand Prix. How much do you love coming back to Australia, Alex?
Coming to Australia, to the island, unbelievable. I really enjoy. It's one of my favorite tracks. Things like today with this wind, it's not one of my favorite ones, but yeah, let's enjoy today. Guys that they are here, at least the temperature is hot for the race. So let's see if the wind went a little down.
Looks like Yamaha is making fantastic progress. Maybe a bit of chat about the wind being a good thing for Yamaha today.
Let's see. The bike was quite stable this morning on the warm-up, but it is bad. Good opportunity for Jack here in front of the home ground. But yeah, let's see.
Best of luck today, mate. Peek over and get a quick word with Ralph Fernandez as they're starting to load in the shirt cannons. I think we're not too far away from firing some gifts and prizes up into the crowd. Ralph Fernandez did an amazing job yesterday aboard his track house at Prix. Well done yesterday, taking home a medal. Can you do it over the longer distance today?
For sure we will try. I'm very happy because always to ride here in Phillip Island is very nice, and if you get one result like that, always is a fantastic feeling. So yeah, today in the warm-up I feel again super comfortable with the bike. The wind was a little bit difficult on top 2 and 3, but anyway I feel comfortable to make the race.
We have a lot of fans here in Australia of Trackhouse because of the NASCAR program as well. So are you feeling that fan base here in Australia?
Yes, I feel also that we need to get some good results because in NASCAR they are making an amazing job. So we need to make something similar, and we are pushing for that.
Luck today, mate.
Thank you.
Ralph Fernandez, an amazing job. Back-to-back sprint podiums and doing an incredible time on his bike in qualifying yesterday. Both the Cristini boys, where they've just got back on the bus after firing some prizes up into the crowd. Alex Marquez doing a wonderful job sitting second in the championship, hopefully locking away that here today. And also Fermin Aldeguer, who was the most recent Grand Prix winner, still riding the wave. I know, difficult day yesterday, but such a wonderful time for you in Indonesia.
Yesterday was a difficult day, but we have another chance. I arrived here and win the last Grand Prix with extra motivation, but difficult track for a rookie rider with the win. With MotoGP is completely different, but today we will see the win go a little bit down. It's a difficult warm-up, but we will see. I'm ready.
What happened with your little moment yesterday?
Nothing. I was on the limit, trying to recover some position. I lost a little bit the rear tire and a little push in the front, and I crashed. But physical, all perfect. That is the important point, and we will see today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll sneak over and grab Alex here as well. Difficult day yesterday in qualifying, but bounced back nicely in the sprint race. It sounded like tyre choice was maybe the problem for you, Alex. Is that right?
Yeah, the tire choice was not the best one, but I mean we suffered, but you know, we were able to save it quite in a good way. So we'll try today to make the right choice. We'll see if the wind will go down a little bit because the water was quite difficult. But yeah, we'll try our best as always and try to extract the maximum from this weekend.
Coming up to Stoner Corner, this is 200 kilometres per hour mid-corner speed. Were you getting a big crosswind here earlier today?
Yeah, it was not really nice. Honestly speaking, you know, was the worst start or one from 2 to 3. But anyway, for everybody, and we to lap.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Big chance to lock away second in the championship. A few boys just taking a moment to try and hide from the wind. I might come down and speak to Fabio. You're just going to come up to us. Thanks, Fabio. The pole man is back. Similar story to Alex maybe for you in the race yesterday with tyre choice, but that pole lap, mate, it was absolutely electric. You're still riding the wave off that amazing lap yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was a good lap, but yeah, the race I chose the medium front. That was completely my mistake. From turn 2 in the lap 1, I knew that I made a mistake, but yeah, let's see today. It's so windy, so iron choice will be quite easy, but let's see how we can warm them up. But yeah, let's see if the wind is coming down, because it's also first lap with that wind. It's quite easy to make a position, and riding is difficult, but let's see if we can manage.
Not just the chance of wind, there's also a small chance of rain for later today as well. Your thoughts on that?
I don't care. I mean, of course I prefer the sun, I mean dry, but you know, if it's raining for everyone, but of course.
Best luck today.
Thank you.
Fabio Quartararo did an amazing job putting that bike on pole with the quickest lap ever here at Phillip Island. Let's duck into the KTM boys. We'll grab Paul Espargaro, who's done an amazing job. Hey, welcome back straight into the top 10. I don't think I've seen any rider smiling more than you this week, and you're having a great time.
I'm just trying to take that opportunity and enjoy it at maximum, because I don't know when I'm going to jump the bike again. So now it's a nice opportunity here, especially Phillip Island, one of my favorite tracks. And you know, enjoying this weather, because normally we have this rainy weather and very cold weather, which this weekend we are enjoying of more or less good weather apart from this wind. But you know, it's a great weekend.
Had some amazing memories and times here in Australia over the journey, haven't you? Can you just tell us about how much it's a pleasure to ride a MotoGP bike around this place?
Yeah, it's a special. Back in home when I was, you know, before to come here, I was in New York with some friends, and I was explaining them what is the race here in Phillip Island, and I was showing them some pictures of the straight, you know, looking the sea, and some images from the top where you see all the sea and all that, and it's amazing, it's unbelievable. So I was explaining this, and I was just full of joy, you know, and looking forward to race here. So it's a nice opportunity. I'm super grateful. So let's bring a good show to these people.
Amazing job yesterday. Top 10 every session so far, so we'll see you in the race.
Thank you very much.
Espargaro, he's got that big smile going here this weekend. We'll sneak in and have a word to Pedro just next to him, who's got a big smile on his face, because you've got a pretty fast bike. You're playing around with some upgrades this week. Have you stuck to those upgrades for the race?
Well, yeah, more or less. Let's see how it's going. Because it looks like today with the wind, everything was becoming more difficult for everyone. But quite happy about the race of Milky, and also with the pretty go on to this warm up for this. Let's see what she's going on in the race.
Yeah, no, we didn't get you in the Grand Prix last year, sadly out of action from the Saturday. So how do you think you'll go over the longer distance here?
Well, for sure with the medium rear tire will help everything, you know. It's sure that will be a race of management, but I think we are ready.
All right, best of luck today.
Thank you, bud.
Fans of Pedro Acosta maybe checking in for a race win here today. Frankie Morbidelli's had a bit of a difficult time of things as well. Sorry, Miguel Oliveira will grab for a quick moment down here as well. We saw you on the 88 yesterday.
Look Italian, you know.
No, exactly. I saw you in the hood and I thought it was the first break go. You're riding the Jack Miller train with him here this week, mate. How much have you appreciated just watching the fan base with Jack here today?
It's great. It's great to have, to be the single rider on the grid, to have the home GP. It's pretty amazing. It's a special feeling, and gives you that extra boost seeing all your people cheering up for you. So yeah, definitely happy for him.
You'll be able to learn something like setup-wise or anything off Jack that you can use for your advantage today?
Look, there's these weekends where the guy is just fast, you know, and whatever you try to replicate, it doesn't quite go your way. So yeah, Jack is fast this weekend, so hopefully he can have a good one today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Get it. We'll go turn around and get a Johan Zarco. Yeah, exactly. I shot off the back of that one. Sorry, mate. Johan, I'm going to quick word off you because you are a Grand Prix winner here. What does it take to win at the Island?
Amazing. It's a short track, and I was dreaming about this track. So when I got my first victory there in MotoGP, I was just thinking I could not write it better.
It was windy. Those 2 years ago, it was the windy race. Can you do it again in the wind here?
I don't know. I've been struggling during the weekend, so if I can catch a good top 10 would be good enough. Instead, if I have big surprise, I will find a good setup for the race. But it's taking a long time to catch back the confidence on the bike. So I hope a good race, and even if we have a strong win, enjoy on the bike.
And best of luck today.
Merci.
Johan Zarco back here with Honda. We've got some of the KTM boys. Looks like a Bastianini down there firing some prizes up into the crowd. We'll go again, Franco. Well, we've been talking about him just a moment ago. The VR46 bikes, it was a difficult start to the weekend in practice one. Have you built the confidence back from that moment, Franco?
No, not really. Not really. We are trying to work. We've been trying to work in order to improve the feeling throughout the weekend, but nothing seems to really help us. Hey, got better and better, but we're not there, unfortunately. But let's see. First of all, how the condition is going to be. Yeah, fun.
What's that feeling like when you lose confidence on a motorcycle? How do you get it back?
Question. You know, it's pretty difficult, especially on such a tricky track, condition-wise and layout-wise. So over here, it's pretty difficult. Definitely not the place to struggle with the feeling, but it's our case this weekend. We will try to push it through.
Hey, best of luck today.
Thank you.
Hello, step over again, Pecco, who's just next to him. Speaking of confidence on a Ducati, I'm going to hold on to here. Hey, Pecco, hey, mate. We're ripping through the Hayshed. What a cool part of the racetrack this is. But you talk us through the warm-up and the bike swap. Did you have any success swapping bikes?
Honestly, not a very good warm-up for me. We had some issues with bikes and just really sorry for that.
Any more luck coming your way, hopefully, for the race today? You've got the grid penalty to deal with as well. Can we see you fighting for a top 10?
I don't think so, but let's see.
Tough weekend for you, mate. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Approaching Lukey Heights, which is probably going to be the windiest part of the track. I'm going to sneak around and see if we can find where Jack Miller's going. So I wouldn't mind getting Jack. He's waving to the fans as we approach the top. Hey, Jack, spin you around for a quick chat, brother. We missed the podium by just 66 thousandths, but today a longer distance race. Bit of wind around, maybe a bit of rain around. It's all pointing in the right direction for you, mate, this week. You feeling it?
Watching boards through at the course of the weekend, but no, it's unreal. You know, it's been awesome to be home with the home fans. You know, they've been phenomenal all weekend, and I don't think any rain's going to be there. It's going to be a bit gusty, but it could make the racing interesting. We had a good pace this morning, warm up, considering the wind. Like I said all along, you know, the ending hand is pretty good in the wind, so keen to just get underway. What is it, 3 o'clock? Wait till 3 o'clock to get out on track, and yeah. Can't see what these other boys have got.
Taking more time to enjoy it now that you're, you know, a bit older and a bit wiser?
And I'm an old man now, yeah, absolutely. No, it's awesome, though. The reception, as it always is here with Phillip Island, but it's been the easiest to do. We've had some ups and downs, but, you know, the crowds come out in full force, and it's awesome to be able to give them something to cheer for. So, no, I'm beyond stoked. You know, with Joel on pole and Sam on second on the grid, shaping up to be a good day for everybody.
Chat to those two boys after that?
Briefly, you know, they've all been very busy home Grand Prix things, but no, wishing them all the best of luck.
Oh, how good is this, mate? There's a huge crowd here at Phillip Island. They all want a bit of Jack's time, and he has done an incredible job at harnessing all that energy here this week, and we'll hopefully see him up on the steps today. We'll see if we can get Luca Marini real quick. If I remember rightly, 1 year ago we were talking about the birth of your baby, so must be one this week, yes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in October, the 12th of October. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. 2 days ago she starts working.
Wow, big steps, and it's an amazing thing, isn't it? But your weekend in the Honda, how are you tracking so far?
Well, we're struggling a little bit in this track. Let's see how we can handle in the race with the wind. It's so important the start and the first two corners. If we are in the top group fighting for the third place, then it can be a nice race. Big fight, big group, as always here in Phillip Island. So we try to enjoy.
Feels like the Honda's getting better. That's certainly how it looks watching from afar. Do you feel like that for you on the bike?
Yeah, exactly. No, it was feeling like this even before that the results start to come. But since succeeding, our trend is super positive. We need to keep working like this because still other manufacturers are far from us, but we are getting closer every GP.
Right, thanks for the chat.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to Angelina. Is that Angelina? Well done, mate. Cheers, mate. Michele Piro, let's have a chat to Michele because it's so cool seeing this guy back. Dressed appropriately for the wind, I might add. What, 2012 was the last time we had a GP for you? In fact, it was a CRT bike back then. I want to know, can we still purchase the CRT bike for Marc Marquez's bike this week? Is that allowed?
It's a long time ago when it's my last time in Phillip Island, but the incredible track, beautiful track, but with the MotoGP it's not simple because the speed is very high. Also the wind does not help. But also the rider is very fast, but I'm enjoying, but disappointed for the injury of Mark, but try to do my best, also for the development of bike, because this is a different track compared to a different solution for the future. And I enjoy every time
Being a flyaway round, it's hard to replace bikes in 2 weeks. You actually get to ride the bike that Mark was on?
yes. So, okay, it's the bike was the same, but the rider is different. And this season is okay for Mark, but very disappointed for his injury because for the rider it's not simple to possible last race.
Thank you for the chat.
Thank you. Ciao.
I'll quickly spin an A around for a quick chat as well. And maybe the rider of the race yesterday, what, 20th to 10th, I think it was in the sprint, mate. Are you feeling like you can do that again today?
Yeah, yesterday at the end, during the sprint, I'm feeling better. And well, today, Saturday, it's very windy, but well, I already percent and.
Best of luck. We're going to send these guys down to the Hero Walk in a moment. Hope you enjoyed that. A little look at this Grand Prix circuit, hearing from the riders. Certainly the big topic here is chatting about these windy conditions, but it's going to be an exciting race. Will we get the rain? Will the wind stick around? Will the Aussies feature in Moto 3 and Moto 2? All to play for here in MotoGP as we get set for the Australian Grand Prix, 3 p.m. local time today.
Located just over 100 kilometres from Melbourne, the state of Victoria. It's the 2025 Australian Grand Prix, the fast and flying Phillip Island. Bravery and skill get big rewards out of circuit regarding the toughest challenge of the season. They held the first Aussie GP back in 1989. A paradise belongs to nature and motorsport. There is no place like Phillip Island on the calendar. It's time to race in MotoGP. G'day, good morning and welcome to Phillip Island. Welcome to the 2025 Australian Grand Prix. It's a pretty windy and wild race day 19 coming your way, of course. The race programme was put back by 1 hour to try and avoid the worst of some strong, powerful, gusting winds blowing off the nearby Bass Strait. It's been pretty overcast since we first arrived here this morning. Just see there, blowing in from a southeasterly direction, gusts of around 28-30 kilometres an hour as we get set for what could be a monumental day for Aussie fans, because in all three of our Grand Prix classes we have home crowd heroes, starting from the front row of the grid. Joel Kelso, the home hero in Moto3 yesterday on pole position. The 22-year-old from Darwin for just the second time in his World Championship career. What a super Saturday was for Kelso yesterday. Senna Aegis on the podium here 1 year ago in front of his home crowd in Moto2. Well, he starts on the front row of the grid, also in the intermediate race. And let's not forget, of course, in the big one, MotoGP coming up at 3 p.m. local time this afternoon. Jack Miller on the Prix Yamaha. He also starts from the front row, close to a medal yesterday in the 13-lap Tissot sprint. So Kelso looking to be the first Aussie to win in Moto3 since Jack Miller all the way back in 2014. He's the first Aussie to win a qualifying pole position in front of his home crowd here in Moto3 at this magnificent Phillip Island circuit. He's joined on the front row by our newly crowned world champion. He got the job done in style last time out, Jose Antonio Rueda. Victory in that shortened Indonesian Grand Prix, enough to see Rueda found the 9th Spaniard to capture the Moto3 World Championship, the 6th KTM rider to do so. The first though in 4 years since Pedro Acosta back in 2021. Luca Lunetta, he completes a front row of the grid in what feels like being a pretty wide open 21-lap battle coming your way here down under. There is still some pretty strong gusts blowing around this part of Australia, which is going to be a big factor in this Moto3 battle. Kelso leading the field through the sighting lap. This is the hopes to be leading the field at the end of 21 laps here. But Lewis going to be in the commentary box with Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. It feels like Lewis, the Australian fans have already got their ticket money's worth with 3 home heroes on the front row of the grid in all 3 categories. None better than Joel Kelso, starting from the front of the grid for the first time in 20 races since Indonesia last year, just the 2nd pole position. Just know that Kelso is all in for the home win.
Well, the Aussies, as we say today, all looking for some home magic. Joel Kelso, you are first up, going from pole position. His first of 2025 versus Buriran last season. What a time for Joel to get in. Has been on the podium here in quite windy conditions actually back in 2023, albeit in wet conditions. And we do use the phrase win it or bin it quite a lot in Grand Prix circles. Not always fitting, but this does have the feel of win or bust for Joel Kelso today.
Kelso has led the last 4 Grand Prix in 2025 without converting any of those leads into a podium. Only world champion Rueda and the teenage rookie sensation Max Clears have actually spent more time at the front of Grand Prix so far in Moto3. And that Kelso, what a place to do it. What a way it would be to capture his first ever Grand Prix success in front of an expectant, if a little bit windswept home crowd here at this wonderful Phillip Island. Thankfully, it looks like we're going to avoid any possible rain disruption. There was rain forecast for race day here today, but that's not going to sweep in, hopefully, until late into the evening. Well, you'd imagine if Joel Kelso is victorious, He's going to be partying along into the night here in nearby Cows is Joel, because we know that he does love a good Sunday night knees up, win, lose or draw.
Yeah, we were in a pub not too far from here back in that 2023 Sunday afternoon when we were all going home early. When the sprint was cancelled and Joel Kelso received a hero's reception when he walked into that particular establishment. Just imagine the reaction we get if he wins today. Australia has won the Australian Grand Prix in Moto3. Jack Miller in 2014 haven't taken victory at home since. Here is the chief threat though, without any question, with the pressure released from the shoulders of Jose Antonio Rueda. Let's get a word though from the pole sitter and the home favourite, Joel Kelso on the grid with Jack.
Joel, pole position here at Phillip Island. Doesn't get any better than this so far. How are you feeling ahead of the big one?
Yeah, pole position, good time position. Bloody windy out there already, closer then, but everyone's in the same boat, so let's go and by send it, mate.
What are the tactics?
I can send it.
Good luck.
See you, mate.
Well, he said he was going to send it in his own very special tone. We just apologise, just we have to for Joel's choice of language. He's certainly pumped, he's certainly hyped up, isn't he, for this home Grand Prix. Jose Antonio Rueda then alongside him. 10th front row of the year, only the second and last 7 for the 19-year-old, and now just Alonso, Romano Fenati and Joan Mir have won more Moto3 Grand Prix than Rueda, who's banging form, isn't he? Not lower than second in the last 4 starts, is the new world champion.
Looking at David Almanza here, back of the 6th row in 18th place. The reason you're looking at him is on the top of your screens, causing a crash at the Indonesian Grand Prix when he took out Tiago Forosato and Alvaro Carpe. He will take a long lap penalty. How long that penalty loop is going to be the story of the day, isn't it? Across our 3 Grand Prix classes. 3 crashes already this weekend, though, for Almanza.
Luca Lanetta, first front row starting 7 since the Aragon Grand Prix. 4th front row of his career for the 19-year-old Italian. Let's get the thoughts from Luca, who joins Jack.
Luca, it's great to see you back on the podium. Last time out, I'm sure that's given you a huge boost of confidence. Now onto the front row again. Excited?
Yes, I'm super excited. We are doing a fantastic job this weekend. I really love this track, especially when it's not raining. So today I will enjoy for sure. There is a bit of wind, but I think we will manage it in the right side. We will see. I think we made a good tire choice, and we will see the race. For sure will be a group race, but I'm ready to fight and we are fast, so let's enjoy.
Where are the most difficult areas with the wind?
For sure, they have turn 2, turn 6, maybe the most difficult corners, but I'm ready for it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, turn 2, thanks Jack, thanks for Luca Lanetta. The Southern Loop turn 2 and Siberia turn 6 as close as you get to the ocean here. That's why you're going to get a bit of buffeting in those particular parts of the circuit. Second in Mandalika, Lanetta, his first podium in 7 is the British Grand Prix. First time in 3 years. Last time out, 2 Italians shared a Moto3 podium since Dennis Fogg and Riccardo Rossi won the box together in Buriram. Of course, Lanetta joined on the box last time by Guido Pini for his first World Championship top 3.
And in the championship, still very much up for grabs, even if Rueda has already wrapped up the title. Joao Angel Piqueras a moment ago. He's certainly coming under threat from the teammate to this man, Max Quiles, who's 14 points adrift now. Quiles does start a couple of rows ahead of Piqueras, but Quiles out-qualified there by his super sub teammate, Joel Esteban, who's in for Dennis Foggi, absent for all reasons through pneumonia this weekend.
A shame that as well. Foggi was due to make his 150th Grand Prix starts this weekend. Despite another crash at turn 2 for Esteban, that is a career best at qualifying for the Spaniard in the 7th position. You see there just from the trackside flags just how still